Hey everyone, I'm Mike from theparkprodigy.com, and on today's video, we're going to break down the best tips and tricks for visiting Universal's Halloween Horror Nights. And if you've been watching our channel, you already know that this event is extremely popular, and you're going to really want to know everything that you possibly can going into your night to get the most out of it. So if you are in the process of planning a Universal Orlando trip, specifically to enjoy Halloween Horror Nights, just be sure to stick around until the end of this video. As always, I'm very excited, so let's go get started. Thank you all again so much for checking out this video. Like I said, we are about to break down the best tips and tricks for visiting Halloween Horror Nights during your next Orlando vacation. Now, we're going to jump right in. We are going to start with number one. And this is really no different if it's Halloween Horror Nights or just a regular day in the Universal Orlando parks. But we always say to plan ahead and be prepared. But specifically, this is such a crucial part of having a successful night at Halloween Horror Nights just because of how much is going on during this event. And the wait times for the haunted houses can really get out of control. So that's why knowing which haunted houses are going on during the event, having a game plan as to, hey, these are my top haunted houses that we absolutely need to get on. And of course, we want to mix in some rides here and there. So having that game plan and just knowing what you need to do going into your day will be that much more beneficial to you. Also, the other really important thing that we would say, especially for Halloween Horror Nights, because it can sell out, is make sure you buy your tickets in advance. And that will just not only allow you to save time once you get to the parks, make sure that you can get tickets because it does sell out, but it also just allows you to make sure that you're getting the right fit ticket. And we just did a video on breaking down all the ticket options, really helping families decide if that RIP tour is worth it. Go and check out that video if you want a little bit of a breakdown of just like, hey, the different ticket options. Again, just knowing exactly what you need going into your night will save you so much more time and your night will go that much more smoother. Okay, so tip number two, and we would say now that you have a game plan, make sure that you arrive early. Now, this is no different whether you're upgrading to some of those premium options, such as that Stay and Scream ticket, which will allow you to enter the theme park early if you don't plan to be in the theme park, let's say, with a regular admission ticket earlier in the day. So the other option to arriving early would be if you have a regular Universal Orlando theme park ticket, then you can enter, of course, depending on the type of ticket you have, right? If you have a base ticket, you need to make sure that you have gone into Universal Studios Florida that day. If you have that park-to-park ticket, you're good to park hop over to Universal Studios Florida. But if you have a regular admission ticket or an annual pass, you can enter the theme park, and then as they're making that transition over to Halloween Horror Nights, you'll be able to stay in one of the waiting areas. And one of the reasons why having the premium options, which is the Stay and Scream, or having a regular admission ticket and being in the park is so important, is because it will allow you, as soon as they kind of flip over to Halloween Horror Nights and they're like, hey, the haunted houses are open, you can then go and you can jump on at least one or two of the most popular haunted houses with very little wait. So there's such a huge benefit to arriving early and being in the park. Now, if you don't have the Stay or Scream, or if you don't plan to be at the parks that day, and you just plan to show up for the regular park opening, we would say still arrive early just because they take security at Halloween Horror Nights very seriously. And it's going to take you a while to get through security, to get through the turnstiles. It's going to take you a bit, right? And we don't want that eating up time that you could be spending on the haunted houses or on rides. So again, just arrive early. And in at number three, making sure you get the most out of your night. We quickly touched on this, but we're going to say, look into the Express Pass or the RIP tour, specifically if you're only going for one night. Now, we've already gotten some comments on the RIP tour video I did saying how crazy the prices were. And if you've spoken with me on the phone or if you booked your vacation through us, you already know that we're not the type of company to upsell you. When someone comes to me and they tell me, Mike, I heard I need the Express Pass, my question is always, what are you going to Universal to do? What are you looking to get out of your night? But I feel like that is the most important question to ask yourself, especially when looking at the premium options at Universal. Now, when it comes to the Express Pass or the RIP tour, I would say the same thing. In the video, the most important thing that I was trying to break down is if you're only going for one night, then this is what you need to be considering. Because if you're only going for one night, then again, there are 10 haunted houses, there are 2 shows, 5 scare zones, rides are open as well. So again, you have to understand like, hey, if I need to get on every single thing, then yeah, you need to upgrade to one of the premium options, either the Express Pass or possibly the RIP Tour, to give you the best chance of doing that. Not saying that you can't pull that off on a slow night in the middle of September, but that's another important thing to ask as well. So what we would say is, if you're looking to maximize your time, if you only have one night and you need to get on everything, then you go and look at the options. Look at either the Express Pass or the RIP Tour. The Express Pass would be the most affordable option for your Halloween Horror Nights event. All right, so moving over to number 4, and we would say make sure you dress appropriate. Now, of course, dressing appropriately is key when attending Halloween Horror Nights. Keep in mind that Universal does have specific policies in place to kind of prohibit guests from wearing masks or costumes that may be mistaken for event characters. Now, we always recommend and kind of say, like, also consider the hot Florida weather, especially if you're visiting in one of those early September or September. Keep that in mind. So you need to really opt into really the most comfortable clothing and shoes possible, because there is a lot of walking in these nights as well. And specifically, the haunted houses are actually situated pretty far behind where, you know, most of the normal Universal Orlando rides are, and that has a big part of it as well. Okay, so tip number 5, and we would say give some thought to the time of year that you want to visit. I say time of year, but I really mean time of the 2 months that Halloween Horror Nights is going on. So Halloween Horror Nights is happening between September through October, right? And what we mean by this is that, of course, as you get closer to Halloween, those nights will get most popular and you'll have larger crowds. So opening weekend is another really, really big one, with the majority of crowds kind of hitting the parks. What we find is typically the middle of September will have the lowest crowds. The second week of September, once you get past those really first 2 Halloween Horror Night events, that second week is a great week to go with some of the lowest crowds for Halloween Horror Nights. But keep that in mind and plan accordingly. Again, just understand when you're going, and then that kind of ties into figuring out what is the best fit ticket for you. All right, tip number 6, and this is really for families who plan to spend all day at the theme parks. We would say make sure you plan in a break. Now, this is especially important if you, like I said, you plan to go to the parks during the day, especially if you're taking advantage of early park admission. The reason being is because early park admission could start as early as 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, and Halloween Horror Nights, most nights will not end until at least 1 a.m. So as you can see, that is an extremely long day, and it's an extremely long day walking around the theme parks all day. So that's why we're saying, to get the most out of your vacation, plan around that. Make sure you take a break to go back to the hotel so that you can enjoy and get the most out of your Halloween Horror Nights event. All right, so tip number 7, we would say don't forget about these scare zones. Now, Universal is going to have different scare zones scattered throughout the parks during your Halloween Horror Night event, and these immersive areas are filled with terrifying characters, haunted music, and of course, incredible decorations. Okay, moving over to tip number 8, don't forget about the shows. So there's also 2 amazing shows between all of the haunted houses and the scare zones, so make sure to catch some of the fantastic shows at Halloween Horror Nights. And this is another thing that we would say, make sure to check the show schedule ahead of time so you can plan your night accordingly. Okay, so moving over to number 9, and we would say don't forget about the amazing food that they have at Halloween Horror Nights and fuel up. So haunting and exploring can work up an appetite. Luckily, Universal Orlando offers a variety of food and beverage options throughout the park, specifically themed around Halloween and Halloween Horror Nights. We recommend grabbing a bite before the event starts to avoid, really, really longer lines if you need like that full meal in. But if you're looking for snacks and stuff like that, definitely be sure to keep an eye out. Some of the most popular ones are going to be the pizza fries. Okay, so last but not least, and we would say this really jumps back into the planning of it, but we would say always go to the newest haunted houses first. Now, of course, just because Halloween Horror Nights has such a cult following, whenever anything new comes out, it is like the must-do. It is extremely popular. So what will happen is those will typically have the longest lines. And we saw that last year with the weekend haunted house, where wait times for that haunted house during the most popular times, was getting up to 2 to 3 hours, right? So what we would say is, again, if you take advantage of every single one of the tips and tricks we just broke down, if you have a game plan going into your night, just to make sure you get the most out of your Halloween Horror Nights and you get onto every single one of your most important houses or rides or scare zone, whatever it might be. And so that is the list, everyone. Those are some of the best tips and tricks for getting the most out of your Halloween Horror Nights night. I hope that you all found this video helpful, and if you are in the process of planning a Universal Orlando trip and you do need a little additional help, just be sure to go check out our website, theparkprodigy.com, or just subscribe to our channel as we have a lot more similar videos just like this aimed at getting you ready for your next Universal family vacation. But I think that's all the time we have for today. Thank you again so much for checking out this video, and until next time, I will talk to you soon.